Resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, on that I ask for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote.
The House has now moved on to passage of this rule for debate that would apply to both the California Water Rights Bill and the Public Lands Bill. Sections of California are suffering severe drought conditions. Bloomberg reports in an article by James Nash about 2/3 of California is gripped by severe or exceptional drought. The most severe conditions, according to the U.S. Drought Monitor, a federal website, 9% of the state, all in the San Joaquin Valley, is considered exceptionally dry, according to the website, which is updated weekly. It's the state's most severe drought since at least 1977, according to Jeffrey Keitlinger, general manager of the Metropolitan Water District. That from Bloomberg News. And again, the White House is opposed to this and issued a possible veto threat against the Water Rights Bill. Again, this is a 5-minute vote on the rule for debating both bills. After this, we expect a quick 2-minute vote, actually 2 quick 2-minute votes on amendments to the Sportsman's Bill, promoting hunting and fishing on public lands. A vote on final passage of that set for today.
On this vote, the yeas are 229 and the nays are 190. The resolution is adopted without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to House Resolution 470 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House and the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 3590. Will the gentlewoman from Florida, Ms. Ross-Lehtinen, kindly take the chair?
Thank you, sir. The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of H.R. 3590, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill to protect and enhance opportunities for recreational hunting, fishing, and shooting, and for other purposes.
When the Committee of the Whole rose on Tuesday, February 4th, 2013, Amendment Number 11, printed in House Report 113-339, offered by the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Polis, had been disposed of. Pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18, proceedings will now resume on those amendments printed in House Report 113-339, on which further proceedings were postponed in the following order. Amendment Number 6 by Mr. DeFazio of Oregon. Amendment Number 10 by Mr. Holt of New Jersey. The Chair will reduce to 2 minutes the minimum time for each electronic vote in this series. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on Amendment Number 6, printed in House Report 113-339 by the gentleman from Oregon, Mr. DeFazio, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment Number 6, printed in House Report Number 113-339, offered by Mr. DeFazio of Oregon.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
So again, 2-minute votes on 2 amendments to the Sportsman's Bill now, beginning with the DeFazio Amendment, which strikes the National Environmental Policy Act waivers that are in the bill. The House obviously is in session today, but the Senate is not. Members of the Senate are away on a retreat. Both Democrats and Republicans are having their annual retreats. Democratic senators here in Washington, President Obama is speaking to them today. He will also sign the 5-year Farm Bill, and he'll do that in Michigan, which is the home state of the Senate Agriculture Committee Chair Debbie Stabenow. The Senate did pass the Farm Bill yesterday. The AP reporting conservative Republicans are ruling out any immigration legislation this year in the House. They insist the GOP should wait until next year, when the party might also control the Senate. The statements came even as the head of the Congressional Budget Office told a House panel that overhauling immigration would boost the economy and reduce the deficit.
yeas are 185 and the nays are 237. The amendment is not adopted. The unfinished business is the request for a recorded vote on Amendment Number 10, printed in the House Report 113-339 by the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Holt, on which further proceedings were postponed and on which the noes prevailed by voice vote. The clerk will redesignate the amendment.
Amendment Number 10, printed in House Report Number 113-339, offered by Mr. Holt of New Jersey.
A recorded vote has been requested. Those in support of the request for a recorded vote will rise and be counted. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This will be a 2-minute vote.
Again, 2-minute voting continuing on amendments to the Sportsman's Bill. Members voting on this amendment brought by Congressman Holt of New Jersey, clarifying the Secretary of the Interior's authority to consider climate change as a factor in making decisions related to recreation and conservation on public lands. Again, 2-minute voting on amendments. We expect a vote on final passage to follow. He's been a runner-up on American Idol and Celebrity Apprentice, and now Clay Aiken is joining another high-profile contest. He's running for Congress in North Carolina. He says he'll seek the Democratic nomination for the seat that's being held by Republican Renee Elmers. He says his work as a special education teacher, a UNICEF representative, and a member of a presidential panel in education gave him an opportunity to see a population that was not being served.
41 and the nays are 242. The amendment is not adopted. There being no further amendments under the rule, the committee rises.
The Committee of the Whole House of the State of the Union has had under consideration H.R. 3590 and pursuant to House Resolution 470, I report the bill back to the House with sundry amendments adopted in the Committee of the Whole. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The Chair of the Committee of the Whole House of the State of the Union reports that the committee has under consideration the bill H.R. 3590 and, pursuant to House Resolution 470, reports the bill back to the House with sundry amendments adopted in the Committee of Whole. Under the rule, the previous question is ordered. Is a separate vote demanded on any amendment reported from the Committee of the Whole? If not, the Chair will put them in gross. The question is on adoption of the amendments. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill to protect and enhance opportunities for recreational hunting, fishing, and shooting, and for other purposes.
Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Gentlemen will suspend. The House will come to order. The House will be in order. Members, please take their seats. The House will be in order. For what purpose does the gentleman from New York rise?
I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Is the gentleman opposed to the bill?
In its current form, yes, I am.
The gentleman qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Sean Patrick Maloney of New York moves to recommit the bill H.R. 3590 to the Committee on Natural Resources with instructions to report the same back to the House forthwith with the following amendment. Page 3, after line 24, insert the following. Section 103, protecting water supply for public recreation and safe drinking. Section 4 of the Toxic Substances Control Act, 15 U.S.C. 2603 is amended by adding at the end the following. H, protecting water supply for public recreation and safe drinking. Not later than 1 year after the enactment of this subsection.
Clerk will suspend.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the reading be suspended.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered.
No reserve.
The House will be in order. Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, this is the final amendment to the bill. If adopted, it won't kill the bill. If adopted, the bill will proceed to final passage immediately as amended. Mr. Speaker, I agree with many of those on the other side about much of the underlying bill.
The gentleman's correct. The House will be in order.
I agree with...
The gentleman will suspend. The House will be in order. Gentleman's recognized.
I agree with much of the underlying thrust of this bill. Let's open our public lands through recreational hunting, fishing, and shooting. Let's make it easier to maintain public shooting ranges. No argument from me. But we can and should make this bill better, and my amendment will do just that. Preserving our public lands, our common spaces, also means investing in the critical infrastructure that allows us to bring our families there safely. That's why the Bipartisan Safe Bridges Act should be in this bill to ensure that our nation's highways and bridges are safe. But the biggest omission here, the biggest omission with this bill is the failure to protect our citizens from toxic spills that would threaten our water supplies. A few weeks ago, we all woke up to learn that 300,000 people in West Virginia couldn't drink their water. A mother trying to put their child in the bathtub couldn't turn on the faucet. A father mixing baby formula for an infant couldn't trust what came out of the tap. For more than a week, families couldn't do things that each of us do every day. Hundreds were hospitalized. Because businesses had to lock their doors, even people making the meager $7.25 inadequate federal minimum wage couldn't go to work because the businesses were shut and couldn't provide for their families. Schools shut down. Anxious, worried parents by the thousands lined up every day for National Guard troops to supply them with safe water. This happened right here in America, not in some foreign country, and it happened for a reason. It happened because one greedy operator thought it made sense to store toxic chemicals in a tank he didn't inspect right next to the water supply. You can't tell me that the free market took care of that problem. Tell that to the hundreds of thousands of West Virginians who can't drink their water.
The gentleman's correct. The House is not in order. The House will be in order. Members, please take their conversations off the floor.
Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman will suspend. The House will be in order. The gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my amendment ensures companies making chemicals with the potential to contaminate water supplies are simply required to report the hazards of these chemicals. It's pretty simple. In my neck of the woods in New York City, the watershed delivers approximately 1.4 gallons of water from my district down to New York City, supplying 9 million people every day with water. If this spill on the Elk River had happened on the Hudson River, we would be talking about an order of magnitude different problem that would affect millions and millions of people. Have we lost so much faith in ourselves acting together that we can't protect the American people from this kind of toxic spill? If this House isn't doing this, if we aren't protecting a mom trying to give baby formula to their child, what are we doing here? Again, I join many of you in supporting the underlying emphasis of this bill. Let's get government out of the way for our hunters, our anglers, our sportsmen. A dad should be able to share the first marksmanship experience with his son or daughter, just like my dad did with me and my brothers. But to preserve these freedoms, if government needs to get out of the way at times, then surely it must also protect us at times from those who would destroy these treasures for profit. It was Teddy Roosevelt, after all, who said, "Here is your country. Cherish these natural wonders. Cherish the natural resources. Cherish the history and romance as a sacred heritage for your children and your children's children. Do not let selfish men or greedy interests skin your country of its beauty, its riches, or its romance." If we really want to protect the natural beauty of our country, it starts with protecting something as fundamental as our water. Mr. Speaker, if we don't do this, we do nothing. And if those on the other side will not use that gavel in this House to protect the American people, then some of us on this side would like to borrow it for a while, because we will. I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Washington. For what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, I rise to claim time in opposition to the motion to recommit.
Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes. House will be in order. Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I probably said this before, but I'll say it again. Here we go again. The underlying bill before us is a bipartisan bill. Has bipartisan sponsors of the Sportsman Caucus to allow access to our public lands for people to enjoy hunting and fishing. That's what the underlying bill is. And furthermore, during the debate yesterday, during the debate on amendments, we adopted some 3 or 4 Democrat amendments because they added to the bill. This is a bipartisan bill, so what happens on a motion to recommit? Here we go again. The essence of this motion to recommit would be to broadly expand the powers of the Environmental Protection Agency. I urge my colleagues to vote no on the MTR and yes to the underlying bill, and I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. Without objection, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion to recommit. Those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The motion is not agreed to.
Speaker, I ask for a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested. Those favoring a recorded vote will rise. A sufficient number having risen, a recorded vote is ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. Pursuant to Clause 9, Rule 20, this 5-minute vote on the motion to recommit will be followed by a 5-minute vote on passage of the bill if ordered. This is a 5-minute vote.
So we have House members now voting on a procedural motion in a last attempt to have the bill altered before it reaches a final passage vote. Lawmakers have been debating this bill, referred to as the Sportsman's Bill. It's a combination of 8 bills that would promote hunting and fishing on public lands. This attempt by Democrats would encourage protection of waterways. Votes on final passage expected after this. This is a 5-minute vote.
On this vote, the yeas are 187 and the nays are 231, and the motion is not adopted. The question is on passage of the bill. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays.
Gentleman from Washington.
Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays.
Yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This will be a 5-minute vote.
Again, a 5-minute vote on final passage of the Sportsman's Bill, which would increase access to hunting and fishing on public lands. This is once again a 5-minute vote. From roll call this afternoon, Daniel Newhouser has written this story: GOP at a loss on the debt limit. House Republican leaders are at a loss about how to move a debt limit increase. A GOP leadership aide told roll call that after an informal canvass of the House Republican Conference through member meetings and phone calls over the past week, leaders concluded that the top 2 sweeteners they were considering couldn't attract enough Republican support to pass a debt ceiling hike. The conference has been discussing attaching a measure that would repeal a section of the Affordable Care Act that helps insurance companies avoid risk, or another that would spur the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline, and neither turned up enough support to pass the extension of the nation's borrowing authority.
On this vote, the ayes are 268, the nays are 154. The bill is passed without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. What purpose the gentleman from Washington rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend the remarks and include extraneous material on H.R. 3964.
Without objection, so ordered.
I love it when you get mad.
Pursuant to House Resolution 472 and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House and the Committee of the Whole House in the State of the Union for consideration of H.R. 3964. The Chair appoints a gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, to preside over the Committee of the Whole.
House will come to order. The House will come to order. The House will be in order. Members it's suggested to members that they take their conversations off the floor. The House is in the Committee of the Whole House on the State of the Union for consideration of H.R. 3964, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill to address certain water-related concerns in the Sacramento-San Joaquin Valley and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the bill is considered read the first time. The gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hastings, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Napolitano, each will control 30 minutes. The Chair recognizes the gentleman from Washington.
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not in order.
Gentleman is correct. The committee will be in order. Members are to remove their conversations off the floor. The committee will be in order. The gentleman from Washington is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized for as much time as he wishes.
Mr. Chairman, the House today is considering H.R. 3964, the Sacramento-San Joaquin Valley Emergency Water Delivery Act. Like California, my Central Washington district is heavily dependent on irrigated water to support our local economy and agriculture industry. I understand the importance of having a stable, reliable water supply, and I also understand the economic devastation that is caused when the water supply is shut off, particularly when the shutoff is avoidable. California is facing an emergency situation. For years, the San Joaquin Valley farmers have been fighting against federal regulations and environmental lawsuits that have diverted water supplies in order to help a 3-inch fish. In 2009, there was a deliberate diversion of over 300 billion, that's billion, Mr. Chairman, gallons of water away from farmers. As a result, thousands of farm workers lost their jobs, unemployment in some areas reached 40%, and thousands of acres of fertile farmland simply dried up. As Chairman of the House Natural Resources Committee, I've traveled to Fresno, California, and seen the effects of natural and man-made drought firsthand. We've held multiple hearings and heard the pleas of communities that simply want the water turned back on and their livelihood restored. We've seen farmers, Mr. Chairman, who normally help feed the nation, being sent to wait in line at food banks, and in some cases being served carrots that are normally grown in this area that are from China. That's why last Congress, the House of Representatives passed bipartisan legislation to restore the flow of water to avoid future droughts. In fact, the Senate did not take up a single water bill in this last Congress, even after we'd passed our legislation. So once again, We're back here on the floor of the House with legislation to help California communities once again facing water shutoffs. But now, Mr. Chairman, the situation is much more dire. The lack of rainfall has exacerbated the man-made drought, and last month, California Governor declared a state of emergency. A man-made drought coupled with a natural drought equals disaster and requires immediate action. Of course, these conditions could have been partially avoided if only the Senate had acted on the House-passed legislation last year. This comprehensive solution before us today, almost identical to what the House passed the last Congress, would restore some water deliveries that would be cut off due to federal regulations and environmental lawsuits, ensure a reliable water source for people and fish, secure water rights, and save taxpayer money by ending unnecessary and dubious government projects. Mr. Chairman, I want to stress that this crisis does not just impact California, but it has rippling effects across the entire nation. California's San Joaquin Valley is the salad bowl for the world and provides a significant share of the fruits and vegetables for our country. Food grows where water flows. When there is no water, our food supply suffers, resulting in higher food prices across the country and increased reliance on foreign food sources. This bill is a chance to right the regulatory wrongs of the past and to end future man-made droughts and protect the jobs and economic livelihoods of farm families and their workers. The people of the San Joaquin Valley cannot wait any longer, Mr. Chairman, for Congress to act. As the title of this bill suggests, it is truly an emergency for many and time is running out. I sincerely hope that, unlike the last Congress, our Senate colleagues will take up this bill or propose a meaningful alternative to it. Then we can come together and figure out where we disagree and then agree on a final package. These communities facing massive unemployment deserve nothing less. This bill is supported, Mr. Chairman, by the entire Republican California delegation, and I commend my colleagues from California for their hard work in getting this bill to the floor today. So I urge my colleagues to support the bill, and I reserve my time.
The gentleman from Washington reserves his time. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentlelady from California is recognized for as much time as she wishes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would invite my colleague to be able to move to visit Southern California to check with the rest of California and how we're handling drought. 98% of California, as shown by this map, is in drought. We are entering the third year of drought, the driest on record in California. This bill, 3964, the Sacramento-San Joaquin Valley Emergency Water Delivery, targets Central California only, Central Valley. It was introduced 1 week ago with no hearing, no markup, no conversation, nothing. A partisan bill introduced only by California Republicans with no meaningful conversation or cooperation with the rest of California members who are all facing similar drought impacts. It is similar to 1837 from 2011, the last Congress, and it died in the Senate, as was pointed out. According to the California Department of Water Resources, the snowpack in the Sierras, the largest reservoir in Central Valley Project system, was 6% of normal. Last week, the National Drought Monitor found 98% of the state is experiencing moderate to severe drought. So dry in California that the first 18 days of January, the state saw 289 fires that burned 721 acres, including the Kobe fire partly in my district. The state has hired nearly 100 more firefighters and used the Super Scooper water plane at a time when California should be experiencing its wettest month. The Resources Secretary Laird said it best in the letter. This bill falsely holds the promise of water relief that cannot be delivered because in this drought, the water simply does not exist. This legislation instead reallocates water in a way that erroneously elevates junior water rights uses above all other water needs, including municipalities, fisheries, environmental, and business. It repeals existing state law for water use in California, establishing a very harmful precedent for other states. It repeals sections 104, 107, 108, 110, 204, and 401 that explicitly waive state law or reclamation law. It repeals historic California water rights because of careful, balanced water compromises, undermines our California and other states' ability to manage its own resources. It overturns nearly 20 years of environmental and conservation protections under the CVP, Improvement Act, CVPIA, and Endangered Species Act, and ignores the best available science demonstrating the negative effects on species. We are, in fact, a species too, the human species. It repeals the federal and state agreement on the Court Order Settlement Act for San Joaquin and Restoration Settlement Act. It prohibits federal or state governments from exercising valid water rights in order to conserve, enhance, recover, or otherwise protect any species that is affected by the operations of the CVP or state water project. It also reallocates water for junior water rights holders in the Central Valley and ignores the needs of Southern California and other water users, while privatizing a public resource for a select few. It does not, I repeat, does not create any new water to solve the drought. It completely eliminates co-equal goal of protecting environment and allowing water deliveries. It eliminates that co-equal goal. It put jobs at risk, not only for fishermen, but also at risk the economy, would revert contract renewal terms to 40 years instead of the current 25. Mr. Chairman, the severity of this drought benefits a very small group. It does not benefit all of drought-impacted California. It needs the cooperation of a bipartisan solution for all of the state, including Southern California. Water bonds in the past in California have favored Northern California. The levy fundings favored the Bay Delta. And 3964 favor Central Valley farmers only. Southern California want and need to be included in a dialogue and be part of the solution. We are currently in dialogue with the senators over a drought bill. Title 16, which is recycle water, water smart. They've been stonewalling our ideas. They're not allowing bills to be given the courtesy of a hearing in subcommittee or full committee. The Bureau of Reclamation, working with Water Smart project funding of only $27.5 million, in water recycling project funding, Title 16, $21.5 million, with a backlog of $400 million congressionally approved projects. Mr. Speaker, I request permission to submit letters in opposition from the White House, a statement and a veto threat, from the Governor of California, Governor Brown, from the California Department of Natural Resources Secretary, John Laird, from California Attorney General Kamala Harris, and from 34 diverse California environmental groups. Western States Water Council indicates their opposition has not changed to the provisions that preempt states' rights. The bill will just create more litigation over water and not solve anything. We need to work on a bipartisan basis. I'm putting that forth. 3964 is not such an attempt. And I urge all my colleagues to vote no on H.R. 3964, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Without objection, the gentlelady's request will be covered by General Lee, and the gentlelady from California reserves. Gentleman from Washington.
Mr. Chairman, I am very pleased to yield 3 minutes to the author of this legislation, a Californian whose district is heavily impacted by this man-made drought, Mr. Valadao. 3 minutes.
The gentleman from California is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reason we're here today is we've heard talk for long enough. We've seen negotiation after negotiation, and the last one that we're asking to go back to happened in the mid-90s. There was an agreement made that allowed water to go for the environment and for agriculture, and now we're not even getting that. And what we're asking for is for a little attention. This, to many of the viewers, probably don't find this interesting. It's just a bunch of trees, but these trees are dead. They've been pulled out of the ground. And that probably doesn't mean a lot to the Speaker or a lot of other people in this room, but these are trees that grow crops. Those crops create jobs. The people that do those jobs are these people right here. We hear so many people talk about unemployment insurance. These people want to work. They want to earn a paycheck. They want to go home at the end of the day with their money in their pocket and be able to buy food that's grown around them, natural, good, wholesome American food. These people do not like standing in a line and do not like waiting for government handouts. They want to work and be productive members of today's society. And I know for a lot of people watching today, they think, well, this is just a California problem. This is the food grown in California. 99% of the almonds, 99% of the artichokes, 99% of the figs, 99% of the olives, 99% of the pistachios. So when we talk about helping people who need help and giving them the resources to feed their families. If we cut off water to California, it has a direct impact on the money that they do receive from the government because they aren't working because of the drought. It makes their food more expensive. It limits what they can buy to feed their families. Anybody that claims to be helpful of those who need our help the most and votes against this bill is literally saying, I want to raise the cost of food to everybody in the United States. So thank you, and I yield back.
Gentleman from California yields back. Gentleman from Washington reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield as much time as he may consume. Mr. DeFazio, the ranking member of the subcommittee.
The gentleman is recognized for as much time as he wishes to use.